Okay, welcome to the CDR and Databricks interactive training session. I will be pasting 2 links in the chat here shortly. You can navigate to those to view previous training sessions or upcoming event dates and topics. All right, on to our administrative announcements. This session is meant to be collaborative and interactive. You can use the Zoom breakout rooms throughout the session, and there will be a team member in each room to support you and answer your questions. If you do have questions, feel free to ask them verbally, drop them in the chat, or use the raise hand feature in Zoom. And of course, portions of this meeting will be recorded and made available in the CCSQ DNA portal. Just make sure to give us a few more days to turn those around. And at the end of this call, we will be administering a survey. Make sure to take that survey and provide your feedback and let us know how we're doing. And with that said, I'm going to go ahead and stop screen sharing and hand it over to Katie.
Hi, everybody. I'm Katie, the user services team. I'm going to put a link in the chat to where you can see these notebooks. So if you go to that link, it should bring you to a page that looks like this. This is the CDR PSA community location that has our some of our notebooks from our sessions and things. If you click...
Katie, are you sharing your screen?
Oh,
I'm not seeing it.
I think I forgot to do it. Thank you. All right. Oops. There it goes. Get that up. All right. Can you see my screen? It should be showing.
Yes.
Okay. So if you click up here, you should be able to highlight both of these notebooks, and did I put them in the chat? Sorry, let me pull that back up. So go to that link, it'll take you here. If you select around here, or you select both of these, you can clone these to somewhere in your own for you space. If you put it in your user folder, it should clone the folder since you have both of them highlighted. So that it should create a folder called Interactive Session 7 Jobs if you click on that. But I do want to welcome you to our interactive session on Databricks jobs. This there are 2 notebooks because you're going to be setting them as tasks in the job in the exercises here. If you have not gone to any other of our presentations on jobs, or if you've never done it before, don't worry, you should be able to do it just fine today. I'm scrolling down in the notebook that's called Task 2, so that's the one I'm presenting from. And I have under Resources, Jobs, Introduction to Databricks Jobs Clusters. This shows you how to set up a job, and it has all of the step-by-step instructions. This is a knowledge base article that we have on Portal, and it tells you all the things that you need to do. Make sure you select a cluster policy. This is a step in here. But follow all the instructions. You should be able to set up a job, because this is one of those things where you just kind of have to have somebody tell you how to do it, and then you do it a few times, and then you remember all of the options that you like to do. This is an interactive session. Feel free to come on mute and ask questions at any point. In a minute, we're going to open up breakout rooms so that you guys can you can do your exercises on your own, and you can go into a breakout room and talk about it. You can also ask questions here in the main room. That's totally fine. Excuse me. I wanted to ask, just to get a sense of the room, how do you guys feel about creating jobs in Databricks? If you think jobs are great and you do them all the time, give me the wow face, a heart if you're comfortable creating a job, the emojis, if you can use the emojis on your little Zoom panel. It's probably at the bottom, I think. But if you've created a job before, thumbs up. And then let's get this party started if it's new for you. And we got these little party popper emoji for that one. Okay, I'm seeing a couple of party poppers. Thank you. Alrighty. Oh, and the thumbs up. Nice. All right. I have a definition section here. If you may have heard workflows and jobs talked about kind of simultaneously, interchangeably, workflow is technically something more than just a job. It encompasses other things. It's kind of the umbrella that includes jobs. Jobs is like a resource that can coordinate, schedule, and run your notebooks. The tasks are sort of the things in individual little things within the not notebook, within the job. So a job contains tasks, and a task is something like a notebook, which is what you're going to do today. So each notebook is a task for our exercises. The other thing I wanted to mention is that the jobs clusters are great. They can do these intensive jobs. They're dedicated to your job. They terminate when the job ends. They're different from the interactive cluster. The interactive clusters are good for doing development and exploring data and things like that. You can think of a job like running something in batch. You have it all ready to go. You've tested it and you want to run it on the full data. So we encourage you to use the interactive cluster with subsets of data and for development and exploring, and then use the jobs for running your full thing that you have tested and you're ready to run. I mentioned the cluster policy just so you remember that that's something you have to set. It's in the instructions on the KB. And then here's some resources. I have a link to the Code Commons. Here's that SAS transition list that you may be familiar with. It has all the, it has some links also that you may find helpful, but we encourage you to check out Code Commons whenever we can. Oh, sorry, I'm not logged in. But you have a charm and portal that can take you to Code Commons, and that also, I think right now may have this interactive session presentation on it. So check out this link. For the exercises that I'm going to have you guys do, I encourage you to just make one job for today and then do each thing to that job. So exercise 1 and 2 basically tell you to set up the one notebook with in a job, and then use that same job to edit it to add a schedule and a notification. Because if you do something then run, it may take 5 to 10 minutes for it to spin up and run your job. It can take, sometimes it's very quick, sometimes it's not as quick. But since we only have about half an hour for the exercise part, I want you to make sure that you can get through as much as possible so you can ask questions if you come across something and say, oh, what about this? You can of course, ask questions about other things that are not in the exercises. That's partly what this is for too. And then at the bottom of this task 2 notebook, there's a bonus exercise, and that requires you to look at the task 1 notebook and you can use this cell here, 14, to put the answer. And basically how to do that one is down here below. So I wanted to point this out. There are tasks and task values, and there are parameters. So I encourage you to kind of read through some of the material in here if you have time. But I think the most important thing is going to be for you to know how to just set up one job and get the most out of setting up like one thing. So, but the parameters are a really great feature. And then the other nice thing about jobs, besides the, interactive cluster versus jobs cluster, is that whenever you create a job, here's an example of this thing run as a job where I was testing it out. And you can see your notebooks that have run in a job and at that point in time, and they're saved in one place here in Databricks where they're easy to look at. Okay, I'm going to let you guys get started. We'll open up the breakout rooms, and you can come off mute and ask questions if you have any. So here you go.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Sorry if you guys were in the middle of anything. when we close the breakout rooms, but I wanted to make sure we had plenty of time for me to walk through setting these up. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go over to workflows and create a job, which I hope you don't mind me going through that one quickly. So it pops up this screen that you have seen. I'm going to give it a really awesome name that's descriptive. And they seem to be able to be pretty long. I can favorite it so that if I forget what it's called and I want to come back to it, whenever it's new. Oops. So, excuse me. So, descriptive name. Okay. Descriptive name. And then task 1 is the name of this first task. And the reason that it was, I think there's a note in the notebook that says it's important to name it this exact thing, because when you pass a task value from one task to another, you need to have the name of the task in your get. And I'll explain that again in a minute. But this name is what you set. And then you will refer to this name when you get stuff from the notebook. And type, we're going to pick notebook, but there's other stuff. You can put a Python script, SQL query, a wheel, a jar. There's a for each. I can hopefully have time to show you. There's different things that you can do, but right now we're just going to do notebook that comes from the workspace. And I'm going to select it from my user folder because I have a copy of this in my user folder. Jobs, task 1, confirm. So that's the notebook. It's pointing to it in the workspace. The dependent libraries you can add just like you do on the personal cluster. If you click that add button, it pops up this screen and it has the same options as like for the personal cluster. So you can go from PyPy, Maven, Cran. There's other options. So if you need to use the Sarafong reading the SAS files, you can do that and you can click add and it'll add it. Then the parameter part, there's this little space here. So sometimes it's kind of confusing when you look at this, but where it says key value is where you want to add a parameter. So I'm going to put car make param here. And let's say we're interested in Kia because that's one of the possible values that we have in the data set. But you can also do JSON. And if you leave it empty, it'll give you a list and example. So it'll show you like a key and a value, a comma, key, value, comma. But it also formats it nicely for you. But I'm just going to use the what they offer me in the browser UI. And the other thing I want to note about this is I'm setting this parameter in the task. And that is a little different than if I set it in the job over here. Because if I put it in the job and I have say I have 3 or 4 tasks that use the parameter, then all of them can have access to it if I put it over here. And, oops, sorry. But if I have it in task 1, I either have to pass it along, which doesn't make sense if they're all using the same value. But if you have a parameter that's only important for one task, you can set it for the task. And there may not be any harm in putting it in the whole job either, because then it's all in one place if you do it for the whole job and things have unique names. But it just kind of depends if you have a really complicated workflow of some kind. But I don't think we have a lot of complicated workflows here for most of our user base. But I did want to mention this difference between setting it in this task because it's only available to task 1, how I have it set here. And then if you set it over here with the job, it's available to everything. Okay, and then you can add multiples, but I'm just going to set 1. And then notifications, you can add a notification for this task. So that's another thing where you can set a notification for the task or the job. So I'm gonna skip setting a notification for this task, and I'm gonna say create task. So then I can click over here. And so now it tells you about the compute, and you can go back in and configure things if you forgot. So here's my cluster policy. It already kind of sets it for me because I've set up jobs before, and it kind of seems to take that same thing. You can add neat tags for your, job so that you can find it if you have a lot of them. You can call it whatever you want, just something that makes sense. You could call it your name. Some of the Databricks default things will create a tag with your name, your username, or whatever. But anyway, so if I want to schedule this job, I can also schedule it simple every one day, and it'll kind of do it at the same time every day that you set it. Or advanced, you can do every day, every month or week at a certain time, and then select whatever your time zone is. There's Eastern, Central Time, Atlantic Time, that kind of stuff. So you have all of that, and you can click, I'm going to click save, but hopefully I won't forget about it. I'll pause it because I don't want it to just run all the time if I forget about it. Back down here, sorry, I jumped around a little bit, parameters. So I can set another parameter and, give it a value of 1. Car make param, if I do Honda. So note that this parameter overrides the task parameter defined in task 1. So it will tell you if you already have something with the name. It'll give you that warning, and then it overrides whatever you put in there. And it's over here. It's also, let's see what it looks like down here. See, it overwrites the one that I had. It says pushed down. So it tells you each task has what it has available. And then this one, it's here, but it's overridden. So I wanted to note that. For the job notifications, let's say I'm only interested in the jobs. I'll send it to an email. It's my email. I want to know when it starts, when it succeeds, when it fails. Duration warning is a good one for your tasks. And since it's just me and I know if I canceled it, I don't really care. It doesn't need to notify me. But if you were working with a team of people and you guys are sharing a job, that's something that maybe the whole team works on and it's important. You might want to make sure that you see if something's canceled or skipped. In the notifications if they go to like some inbox or, something like that. So I can add metric thresholds. That's just below that notification. And the one you may be interested in is this run duration. It's the one at the top. So I want a warning if the job takes 10 minutes, and I want it to stop if it starts taking, let's say, 30 minutes. And I'm going to save and edit notifications because that'll bring me back to the notifications. And I'm going to click duration warning and save. The one other thing that you can do is, over here, I'm in task 1. I'm going to add a threshold for duration I want it to time out if it takes, 10 minutes for just this one job. And then I'm going to save. So then it'll time out just if this one task takes too long. So the next thing, so this is kind of exercises 1 and 2, and then like the one about notifications and all those other little things. But now I'm going to add another task, and then notebook. Oh, and I didn't save this one, so it's going to tell me you need to save it. Here's what you call this one, because I don't think I had anything in it that was particularly important, like that gets called by like task 1, you call something from there. Oh, and it would have shown me this. Here we go. It would have shown me the same folder that we were in before if I hadn't accidentally clicked. So the one thing I wanted to note on here is that task 2 depends on task 1. It filled it in for me. I'm going to create task. And then I want to show you one other thing that somebody asked about this. And this is also kind of why the parameters are interesting. I'm going to say it's not dependent on anything. So this is that for each, and I can select that in type. So we'll say task 1A loop for each, and then you can put in, so we have these string values, they have to be surrounded by double quotes. So let's say I want to do all these different vehicle types. I want to run the same task 1 notebook for sorry, for each of those things. So you can put in a parameter that it will do each time. So like say you have a report that you have to do for all 50 states. You could just put a list of the 50 states or whatever, however many states you need it for. And then in that loop that we just saw, and then now it's opening a task that goes inside that loop. I'm going to say task 1 because that one takes in a parameter in one of the cells. And then let's see, reference loop data. I'm going to say car make param, and this is overridden by this one over here. So we're going to take that out. But I just wanted to show you, or we could take that out, and that would allow that to happen. Let me show you what it looks like. So if you do this, and the reason it fails is because we have task values set. And I'll end in a second, but if you click on that run, it shows you each thing. So Honda, Toyota, Audi. I had a list, and I'm going to click on this, and there's one. So this is the you can't set task values for this for each, but that's okay because it does at least get down to where I can show you that it takes the one that we set in the input, and it goes, that was the Toyota one. If you go back and then you click the next one, oops. Let's go to this one. You can go down and see that it shows you the Audis. So this will run and take in that parameter that you set with that for each loop. So if you have something that runs over and over, you can do that. And then this task 1 notebook has at the bottom, I'm going to go back to talking about these task values. So these are different than the parameters. The parameters are set outside of the job, and you can bring them in to your notebook from outside that are defined in the job. And these task values are set in a notebook, and you can read them to another notebook. So this particular one, task values dot set, the password is, and then your output for that would be Mr. Bean. And then if we go to a task 2 notebook that is run after task 1, you can see the outputs at the bottom here. You scroll down, down, down. I had something where I ran just something from the CDR PSA community. And then this goes dbutils.jobs.taskvalues.get. Task key equals task 1. That's why it's important to name your task a certain thing, because this task key will get from that task name. And then the key is the password is. So the password is came from where I set the name of the key, and then that value comes out here where I say Mr. Bean. So you could set this into a variable like we do down further, where like largest count year equals dbutils.jobs.taskvalues.get from task 1, get largest count model year, and then that's stored in this one. So let's say it's 2024, and that would be the value here that you can then use down here. Oh, and then so the Audi one that had the most rows in 2023. So this one is actually printing out a list for you. But that's kind of the general thing. I'll stop there. Does anybody have any questions about any of this. I know I glossed over a couple of the kind of bigger new things, but mostly I just want to make sure you guys are able to set a notebook, and I really think those parameters are a cool feature that you guys can use. And then those can get set out. Oops, let's see if I've got a good one. Out here when you have your job definition, and you can set it for all of your tasks. Any questions?
I'm not hearing any.
Okay. I'll let you do the last 5 minutes, do the survey. Thank you. I hope you will fill out the survey and let us know if there's anything you saw today that you would like to hear more about, maybe in a lunch and learn or whatever. You can suggest that sort of stuff in the survey. But I'll leave it to Laura to describe it. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Katie. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and launch the feedback survey. Before you drop, make sure to take it. It's only 4 questions. If there were any unanswered questions or future topics that you'd like to see presented that don't exist out in our portal, definitely suggest those. It's in the last question, that's where you can write that answer and share that information with us. But once you take it, you are more than welcome to drop. And as mentioned, the recording for this interactive session will be posted out in the portal. Just give us a few more days to turn that around. And if you have any questions, you can, again, put them in that survey. So thank you all.